The napkin test. So remember we talked about basis and gain. It gets complicated. You don't want to figure that stuff out. In your mind, if you're the investor, you need to have an idea of what's going on, understand what your basis is and what's going on. If you're a broker, you should be asking some questions. Okay, when you buy it, has it been an investment your whole time? Has it been your residence your whole time? What did you pay for it? Ask some general questions. And understand, you've been to this class now, you understand a little bit about basis and gain, you understand some of these things. And if they're going to have a tax hit, why pay it if you don't have to, right? I mean, it's a tax-deferred exchange, it's not tax-free, so everything goes forward. And it's up to them, really. Every dollar you save somebody, how much more do they have to reinvest? If you're a broker, this is the biggest reason you want to at least let people know it might be an option. Imagine you didn't say anything to them, and later they found out they could have done an exchange. And you wouldn't believe the number of transactions, even today. This code, like I said, it's been around since the 20s. It's been formal since 91. And we still have lots of calls the day after a closing. And that's not a good deal, all right? An example about this, about a dozen years ago now, a broker that's a good friend, he was working with a person coming out of Texas, sold a multi-million-dollar property down there. I think it's like 3 or 4 million. You're going to buy a $5 million property here. And the broker sends the guy to me to do the exchange. And he had told the company in Texas that he wanted to. They closed the deal. So he sent me the guy the day after it closed. The problem is, Scott didn't get the sale up here because the guy no longer had the money to buy it. So number one, the client wasn't happy. That's the biggest thing. You give them the opportunity. They're aware of it. Number two, the sale didn't happen. So think about it early. Work to go forward with stuff. And my experience, anyone ever had a listing where a property owner thought the property was worth more than it was? If you find what they want, are they more or less motivated to get rid of it?
Yes.
A lot more motivated. I don't care if we're talking about a house or income property, whatever it is. It's just the way it is. So give people a place to go, and everything's going to move more close, a lot more easily. So the napkin test is what we use to avoid having to figure out basis and gain. You don't want to figure that stuff out. The napkin test tells us what we have to do to be totally tax deferred. And I'm going to dispel one untruth that you've probably been told for years. What the napkin test says is you must, for total tax deferral, go across or up in value and equity between the relinquished and the replacement property. Okay? You've probably been told we have to replace debt in an exchange. So people say, well, value, equity, mortgage. Value, equity, mortgage. Totally untrue. Mortgage can go away two ways. One is by going down in value, which triggers tax because you went down in value. The other way mortgage goes away is by adding money to the deal. So when we had the crash, what happened to loan to value? Decreased. What happened to the equity in a property? It decreased. So we had people having to add money to transactions a lot during that period. And we would have, historically, we might have somebody say, gee, I don't want any debt on the replacement, so I'm going to pay off the property I'm selling before it closes so I don't have to worry about it. You don't have to do that. Value and equity is what's important. And it's not all or nothing. Buy what you want to buy. Know that if you're 10,000 shy, you're going to pay tax on the 10,000. It's not all or nothing. And like I said before, you're going to lose. Every dollar you spend more than you want costs you $1. If you don't spend it, what's the tax hit? We talked basis again. We didn't talk tax rates at all. In Oregon, what we're looking at is federally today. The way the tax rates are, typically you're looking at 20% federal tax on appreciation. 25% on depreciation recapture. The state of Oregon is going to get you almost another 10%. And then as of now, still, we've got another 3.8% for a lot of people on top of that with Obamacare tax. So you're going to give up at least a third of what your gain is on a property if you do not do an exchange. On a home, if it's outside that 250 or 500, that's what you're looking at. If you've held it for under a year, you could still do an exchange if you're not flipping stuff. Then you're looking at normal income tax rates, which are even more. So the idea is understand what the tax hit's going to be pre-disposition. Don't try to figure it out afterwards. If you got into a closing and you don't know what the tax hit's going to be, set up the exchange. Gives you 45 days to figure out what you want to do. This time of the year, if it hasn't happened to you yet as a broker, and for the investors in the room, you want to think about this too. If you have any confidence at all we're going to see tax reform, it's not going to be this year that it applies. It would be 18 at earliest. So maybe you're saying, well, gee, I'm going to sell the property, but I really don't want to sell in 17. I want to close in 17 and have the tax consequence in 17 when I know, I'm confident they're going to change it in 18. So what do? You could start an exchange. You could ID a property. By law, you can't get the money out of the exchange until the 180th day if you don't buy something. So if you've identified, so when you enter into an exchange, this is something that's important. When you enter into an exchange, let's say 2 weeks into the exchange, you say, I don't want to do an exchange. I just want the tax. I just want to pay the tax. I want my money out. We cannot, by law, give you the money inside the 45 days for any reason. So we can only give money to a taxpayer when they've acquired all property they have the right to buy, which inside the 45 days, they can ID anything they want, so they have no right to the money. After the 45th day, then we can give the money out when the taxpayers receive all property they have the right to. So what happens is, when we get to that 45th day, it's really important. You're either committed or you're going to pull the plug. If at all you can do that. If you're identifying multiple properties, we're going to talk about IDs in a bit. If you're IDing multiple properties, you can ID multiple properties, and our ID forms include a blank on there that says, well, okay, I'm going to ID these 3 properties, 5, whatever it is, but I only have the right to buy whatever number you put in that blank. So you could ID 3 properties and say, I only have the right to buy the one. As soon as you bought the one, now you're entitled to the balance of the money. Okay. The reason I'm giving you this long-winded explanation is, we start the exchange, you ID properties, we get outside the 45 days, it doesn't matter if somebody else buys the property or not. Whether you can buy that, you don't have the right to the money. So we can shove the gains, so by doing this, you can shove the gains from 17 to 18 just by entering the exchange, because you're not going to have the tax exposure on that money until you have receipt of the money. Does that make sense? Same thing can happen to residual proceeds in the exchange. Another option is just do an installment sale. The problem with an installment sale or a structured sale, we'll talk about structured sales a little bit later. Anything with an installment sale treatment, it's attractive. It's great because if you just sell a property, what are you going to do with the money today? Let's say you don't do an exchange. You just sell it, take the money. What are you going to do with it? You can put it, Wall Street. Okay? If you like that, you can do that. You're going to pay tax on the money going into it. You could sell it and put it in the bank. What are you going to make on that? Savings accounts are paying what? Next to nothing. So you just sort of look at what's there. So if you sell and carry a note at 5, 6, 7%, is that better than you're going to do most any place else? It's pretty attractive. But be aware that in the year of disposition, you're going to pay tax on debt relief and depreciation recapture. So even though you get installments, you can receive not a single principal payment. So as you receive principal payments over time, you're going to pay tax on the capital gains rates. Interest income, you're going to pay tax at normal income tax rates. But in a contract or no trustee sale, it's important, number one, if you're a broker, you better have at least enough of a down payment to pay your commissions and title escrow fees and our fees. Otherwise, taxpayers are going to have to come out of pocket those amounts, and they're not going to be happy about it. The other issue is that we've got that situation where they do have tax exposure on debt relief and depreciation recapture in the year of the sale. They don't get installment sale treatment on that. Okay? I think that's really an important factor for people to understand.
So their accountant's going to have to know that, though, in
Yeah.
order to address it, even.
Once
And
again-
sometimes I don't think they have any clue about
Once
that.
again,
so they don't
good-
even,
Good tax and
they have
legal
no
people.
idea, and so they don't pay the taxes, I think.
Yeah, and if they're paying
Very
somebody
often.
that doesn't know it, then who's on the hook for it if there's a problem in the future, probably. But I'm just saying that's where all this stuff gets really complicated. And when we talk about a flat tax, hey, it makes sense, right? How can anyone argue it's not fair? If you take the deductions away, you just put a flat tax out there, it's pretty easy, we could all figure out our tax consequence. What's the reality of that happening? It's not going to happen. What percentage of law firms' practices are estate planning? Okay? Of some form of tax and estate planning. What about tax and legal committee? What are most politicians? Lawyers. What's the largest lobbyist group in the country? Legal lobby. It's not going to happen. So, Anyway, good tax people.